What's up, my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. It's finally arrived after talking about what potentially this movie could be. It is here. This weekend we got The Exorcist Believer, and we're here to break down whether all the hate is justified. And I've got the perfect people to do it with. The first one is my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Well, I'm still speaking English and not Latin backwards, so I think we're still in the clear. But yeah, it's been a rough day. So,
as you can tell by his face, he's been possessed by the demon and all.
Yeah, the pea soup wasn't great, so don't order that one.
And of course, the shape of the Lone Star State, my man down south, Tex. What's up, brother?
Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. Oh wait, that's the wrong David Gordon Green Blumhouse movie. Damn it, I messed up, guys. I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about a David Gordon Green film I actually liked in Halloween Kills, but never mind. What's up, everybody? What's going on?
If you've seen one David Gordon Green film, you've probably kind of seen them all. But at least that's kind of what I think after seeing this one. But anyway, Nick from Lost River Drive-In, he's going to pop in when he can. He's got the link, so hopefully he's not too busy. But hopefully he'll be in at some point tonight. But when he does come in, I'm sure he's going to have plenty to say about this as well. But let's start off right now talking about the cast of the movie. As I get to my pictures, well, I'm all over the place now. Let's start off with the cast of the movie. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. I mean, it was I thought the cast was really well. I thought it was really perfectly cast. I thought it was carried very well by the important people. What did you think of the cast, and who stood out to you the most?
I agree. I think the cast was pretty good. It had just between the two families of the girls that got possessed, like it still had a nice dynamic. And of course there's got to be conflict. So of course they're butting heads with each other, and, but it's like, okay, we have a common goal here though, guys. Like, why are we even doing this right now? They all played their parts pretty well. It's pretty believable. I'm not going to cop out and say Chris McNeil because, obviously. And maybe a certain special somebody who was there for maybe like 3 seconds, but whatever.
Yeah, she doesn't count.
It was still nice. But I don't know. I either want to say I'm trying to remember the two girls' names now.
Catherine and
Angela. Angela was the other one.
Yeah.
I would have said maybe like Angela and then the her dad. They were kind of mostly the main focus of the whole
They
movie.
were too much focused on them. That was the problem.
I was kind of wondering how this was going to work with two possessed girls. I'm like, I don't know if we're going to back and forth, or is it like this is kind of one, or really it's the other girl's fault. I mean, she was the one that took, the girl into the woods and was like, hey, let's do this thing, because that's always a good idea. Mess with, spirits and stuff. But I don't know. It's weirdly, this movie was kind of just like a plateau to me. I don't know. I can't really say anything just really stood out. I can tell you what moment kind of made me go like, but that was about it.
Well, Tex, how about you? You've been pretty vocal in our online Twitter group about this. Not to mention on Twitter itself, for those of you who are following on Twitter. What did you think of the cast? Did anybody really stand out to you as being phenomenal?
I mean, when it comes to the cast, the star for me was Ann Dowd. She was the nurse, Paula, the one that was going to be the nun that, she had aborted her child. I thought she was so strong in this movie. I mean, as far as everybody else goes, there's just a lot of, well, that was okay in this movie, and that to me that there was no Linda Blair type Father Karras roles in this film, performance-wise, that stood out. But yeah. Paula, the nurse, she, obviously she's the one that gives the book to the dad, but she comes into her own in the actual exorcism at the end of this movie. I mean, holy cows. For her not to be the star, she took the entire screen. And, she was really I don't know, for me, she seemed like she was kind of the eyes and the entryway to this. She was the one in the hospital talking about the 2 heartbeats. She saw all of this, and she's seen this before. So we're really living through her in this film, and she was just lights out with it, man. She had to be best. Worse for me, and I hate to say it, but was Ellen Bernstein. She was not needed in this movie. I didn't need her. I mean, the film didn't do anything with her. If you watched the trailer, you saw 90% of her stuff. I mean, it was.
I hate that shit.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Blumhouse does this every time. Don't watch Blumhouse trailers, people. They show you the whole film. I don't know why they do this, but I mean, yeah, that's my best.
That's been a problem that has been plaguing movies for a long
time. Oh no, I'm not saying
some movies, not all.
Yeah, I'm not saying just Blumhouse, but specifically Blumhouse. They really like to just show you everything. So be careful of that, people. But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Tex and Dowd. She was surprisingly a very emotional kind of centerpiece to a lot of this movie. At first, it kind of introduces her at first as kind of the annoying neighbor. And I was like, okay, the annoying neighbor, whatever. There's kind of one of those in every movie. It's not unusual in a horror movie to have that. But she really does kind of take on a much different role once the shit hits the fan and the girls go missing. They come back. There obviously is something not right with them. She is very, very weirdly, she does kind of run this film to a point. And normally I would be kind of annoyed when a secondary character, a side character ends up stealing a lot of the emotional weight of the movie. Not that I didn't get it from the father in this movie. Not that I didn't get it from Leslie Odom Jr., but she was surprisingly significant in the third act. And I thought she carried it very, very well. Also, I like Leslie Odom Jr. I mean, all I've ever really seen him in is, bits and pieces of Hamlet. So, I mean, take that as you will. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the play. I mean, I saw a little bit of it. I didn't think it was all that great. But, I mean, one of the big differences between this movie and the original is you're making a big switch from trying to see this from Chris's point of view in the first film as a mother to seeing it from the father's point of view in this movie with Leslie Odom Jr. And I thought that was a really interesting switch because, I mean, yeah, you're going to see it as a parent both ways, but guys are going to see this differently than they saw it from the first film. Women are going to see this differently than they saw it from the first film. So I thought that was interesting, and I knew that his role was going to be one that was going to be very important. That if he missed, that it probably was going to bring down the movie. He didn't miss. I really liked him in this. I liked his performance. Not to say that the movie was great, but I liked a lot of the performances in this. I also like Lydia Jewett and Olivia Markham. They played the 2 girls. We'll get more into that a little bit later, but I thought that it's really, really hard to play roles like this as a child actor. I mean, it's real easy to go on. If you're a kid, it's real easy to go on in front of the camera and be cute because kids are generally cute. So it's really easy to go on there like the 2 girls from Full House or whatever. It's really easy to go on there and have the one-liner and the cute thing that draws the and stuff like, yeah, you got it, dude. It's really easy to go do that, but it's not easy to play a possession and not make it look cartoonish. I mean, we've seen some possession movies that are acted by adults, people with experience, who kind of make it look a little farcical. You know what I mean? They make it more comical than they do scary. And when you're looking at a possession movie, I want it to be scary. So I thought the girls did a very good job. I also agree that kind of, other than to connect it to the first film, to the 73 film, you didn't really need Ellen Burstyn in this movie, except for a little bit of connective tissue. But it's great to see her in it. She still plays a great version of Chris McNeil. It is interesting to kind of get a taste of what her character has been through over the course of the last 50 years, from the events of the first movie to this one. Because they even kind of loosely mentioned a little piece of throwaway dialogue. She used to be an actress, but then she became an expert in all the rituals and blah blah different cultures and whatnot. So you kind of see the lasting effect that everything that happened in the first movie had on her, how it completely changed her life track. So it's interesting to see that. But ultimately, the purpose that she served was just to be a connective tissue to the original film. I mean, you really could have just called this Exorcist Believer and had her book in it, but not had her. Yeah. And I think you probably would have gotten the same effect, but it's much better to see her on screen, I think, because she is the name. She is someone who's synonymous with this franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, now I have to ask, because this is one thing that everybody's bringing up. How did you feel about that patriarchy line that she throws out there? Like, how did that strike you?
You know what? I didn't mind. And here's why.
I got a chuckle out of it. I was like, yeah, it was the 70s, and that is kind of funny. I'm like, that's probably true, though.
You got to think about where she was in the 70s as an actress and whatnot. Her character, not her specifically.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense for someone of her age who came up the way she came up in the business that she was in at the time in acting. It makes sense because, look, I've said it 100 times. The movie industry, and she is an actress in the first movie, has historically not been kind to women in one way, shape, or form. So it wasn't a significant line, but it was a line that you would expect her to say. I mean, I didn't really care. There wasn't a whole lot of PC stuff in this movie, which is great. I mean, there was that little line. I was just like, I expect that line from somebody like her. It didn't really.
I thought she was gonna say I wasn't a part of their little club. I was like, yeah, I mean, you're not like a priest. You're not in the church. You're not.
Well,
they probably wouldn't have let you in there anyway. But I was like,
and there is historically a patriarchy in the religious circles.
Oh, for sure. I just like, I thought you were gonna be like, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't be in here because you're the mom. You've got the most emotional connection to this little girl who's being possessed. Because even Father Marion tells Father Karras, like, no matter what happens, don't respond, don't listen to it, because the devil's gonna start fucking with you, man. So
that's kind of my point is, think about it as if, both of these films actually happened. She's talking bad about the two men that gave up their lives to save her daughter. They didn't know this child, but yet you're going to kind of, the patriarchy didn't let me in. Like, to me, that just felt so ingenuine. It was like, is that how you would, like, if somebody saved my baby, and even if I wasn't there or not, I would have a little more appreciation for it, not preaching patriarchy. Like, that line kind of struck.
I don't think she would have spent the last 50 years trying to study exorcisms in every single culture. Then, if it didn't, if she's like, well, fuck them. This is only the big boys club, and I'm not allowed in. I mean, she's like, I tried to understand this as best as I could, and learn about as much as I could have, to try and help.
Because that line, it hit me weird. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I get it, but like I said, while the two guys that sacrificed their lives, Mac von Sydow's character and John Miller, is that his name? Jason Miller's character.
Jason Miller.
I mean, those guys obviously they were not blinded by gender or anything like that. But I mean, let's face it, in the 70s, the Catholic Church was a patriarchy. And religion as a whole very much still is. But it was kind of a throwaway line. I didn't really give it too much weight. It's the kind of thing that I would have expected Chris McNeil to say. So, I mean, whatever. It was fine by me. One performance I don't want to go overlooked, and I really wish we'd have had more of her in the movie. I'm going to butcher her name. But the witch doctor lady, the black lady, Okui Okpo.
She was cool.
Sally. There's something about her. I've talked about how much I like people like CCH Pounder, these really powerful women who deliver dialogue with force. She was kind of that, not quite to that level, but she was kind of that. I found myself wishing there was a little more of her in this movie. Okay. It's like she shows up, she kind of gets run out of the guy's house, and then she ends up part of the whole ritual at the end. And I found myself really wanting a little bit more of her. I mean, as I was thinking about it after leaving the theater, I think it was probably just right. She wasn't supposed to be a centerpiece of the cast. But she still did really kind of impress me with her performance, especially the conversation that they have at the cemetery when he goes to meet her and tries to convince her to come join the exorcism. I thought that was really good. That was some pretty good dialogue. That conversation that she had about the history and of the land and the dirt and all that, and even the slaves had something to do with this dirt and so on and so on. It was not so heavy-handed and PC. It was very philosophical. And I thought there was something really cool about the way that she delivered that dialogue. So I was hoping to see, it would have been nice to have gotten a little more of her. And I'm hoping that she's someone that if we end up getting the next two movies, that maybe ends up playing a similar part in at least one of them, if not both of them. But she's someone who kind of impressed me with her performance, I thought, for being kind of a side character, a very important character at the end of the movie, to be sure, but kind of a side character. You know what I mean?
No.
Well, I mean, she had the one dialogue scene that you just described, that the rest of the time we saw her at the graveyard or basically tending the fireplace in the end of it. That's pretty much all she really did in this film. But Yeah, no, I agree. She was probably the most interesting non-possessed character in this film. Like if it, she attracted a lot of attention that way. You know what I mean? I thought she did well.
Yeah, I think all the religious people, with the exception of like the pastor guy who kind of was just fodder, he didn't seem like he did anything really important. Even at the end, I really kind of hope that when the final exorcism thing was going down, that like the last line, especially when the priest came walking in, and he was just like, when he knocked the window, he said "fights in there," and I was just like, dude, that's a pretty awesome line. That's a good piece of dialogue right there.
He's in there praying in his fucking car, and he's like, dude, it's in there.
Yeah, you saw him walk in. I kind of wanted it to be like the OG Avengers were the ones that were standing up against Thanos at the end. It's like I wanted it to be that moment where the real men of God were kind of the final line of defense, the final group to go in there and do battle with this demon and finally put the thing down. But he was just there. He didn't really do anything.
It's funny you call them the Avengers because I wrote this paper as I was in the theater, and I gave that team a nickname, and I called them the Diversity Avengers. Assemble with an exclamation point after it, because that's what it reminded me of. So it's funny that we both came to that same conclusion. Yeah, cultural Avengers, diversity, whatever you want to say. We both came to the same conclusion. That's all that matters.
Well, because that was cool. Like it did go a little bigger. It's like we had different, kind of like what Chris McNeil was doing. It's like we had different cultures of like kind of trying to perform different rituals and exorcisms on these two girls to try to all just bombard it at once, and that was kind of cool, honestly.
I mean, it was kind of funny how the dad was basically he's the Nick Fury of this situation. I'm starting in a team. I'm doing whatever, So
get this man an eye patch.
And just in time to give us his thoughts on what he thought of the cast is my man Nick from Lost River Driver. What's up, brother?
What's up,
dude? I got home, I ate some smash burger, and I was like, at one point I was like, man, I'm gonna pass out, and I was like, no, I'm good.
That's not the first time you've done that either.
No, I do it quite often. So yeah, here I am.
But we were just talking about the cast. Give us your thoughts real quick on the cast, what you thought of it, and who may have stood out for you in the cast.
Leslie Odom Jr. I thought was really good as the dad. I liked Angela. I think the girl that played her name is Lydia Jewett. She was actually really good, but I think we got more of her than the other girl and the other girl's family, honestly. I think that was intentional story-wise for the end, at least, with what ends up happening. Ann Dowd was pretty good. She had some weird dialogue, though, like where it was kind of like I don't know, you were going to be a nun like 30 years ago or something, bro. I don't know. You're not, I don't really trust you to face down this evil. Look, Burston, I thought Burston was good. I just thought that like she was there and then she wasn't. And then the choice they made for her character was like, that's pretty ballsy. Don't know if I would have done that. But I really don't think anybody was bad, honestly. Like, I really don't think anybody was bad. And I think that the ones that stood out were probably Leslie Odom Jr. and his daughter, I think.
You got to admit, though, the one girl, Olivia Markham, the white girl, she had that badass scene in the church. I was just like, damn.
Shit. But my favorite part of that scene, believe it or not, was when leading up to it, when she's like playing with the shit with her feet and like smiling. I was laughing in the theater. I was like, this is kind of funny. They did good. They did a good job. That's one thing you got to give credit. A lot of people have been railing against this movie, but I don't really think you can come after the acting. I really don't. I think most of them were pretty solid across the board.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, Leslie Odom Jr. and Dowd, good for me. I think the girls did a very good job playing the possessed role. Again, it's very difficult to be a child actor and to do something so intense. Like I said, it's easy to go out there and do the quick lines and look cute and stuff like that, but to really get involved in it, to be possessed, to be in pain, to really act with emotion, it's a difficult thing for seasoned actors to do. I mean, you see how many great actors go out there and they just look kind of stupid in movies, and they've got decades of experience, and these girls went out there and did it very, very well. It was very convincing to me. But now let's move on to the story and the kind of the plot. I'll go to you first on this one, Tex. I mean, again, kind of exorcism's not new to the horror genre, but again, you're connected to The Exorcist. It's in the name of the movie, after all. Did that set the bar a little bit higher for this, or did the story work out well for you?
Well, the story, I mean, The Exorcist, the original, may be the most copied off of film ever in horror. I mean, how many possession films have we seen knockoffs of the great one? And unfortunately for this film, to me, it's just another one. There's really nothing in this story that is revolutionary enough or good enough that it makes it stand out. I mean, obviously, Catherine, the white girl's family, to me, that felt like that was like a second or third rewrite that they just threw in there somewhere, and just like, oh, well, there's not one girl this time, there's two, So it kind of felt like they just threw that in. I mean, obviously we know Catherine wasn't the main girl; she was the friend. But if your A story is good enough, I don't think you need that. And I gotta ask, if I ever get to talk to David Gordon Green, I need to know what his deal is with communities coming together to fight evil. Because he did 3 Halloweens about it, now he's doing Exorcist movies about the same thing. Like, what is his passion for this? Was he a community organizer prior to filmmaking? I mean, what's the deal here? But for him to now, I don't know if this is a Blumhouse thing, a Gordon Green thing, I don't know. But they've really got a bone to pick with how communities not coming together to fight for, good. So it was just like I started with. There's just a lot of, well, that's okay. There's not a lot of real bad or a lot of real good. It's just there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll go to you next, Nick. Did the story work for you, or was it too much of a rehash of the original?
It worked for me for the most part. It wasn't particularly it wasn't groundbreaking or anything. I do think, though, one of the things that I was surprised about was I thought the first half of the movie was actually really strong. Like, I really liked getting to know Victor and Angela, and I liked their dynamic. I really did. Like, I thought that stuff was good. I was surprised, because even as somebody that will defend Halloween Ends till the death, like, you can't tell me that it wasn't, like, you're not worried about David Gordon Green handling The Exorcist, because The Exorcist and Halloween are two different animals. And The Exorcist was all about, it was a drama where an exorcism also happened to take place. It wasn't like a possession movie, so to speak. So the first half of this movie, where you're focusing on the drama, I was like, I'll be damned. Like, David Gordon Green's actually doing a decent job with it. And when it kind of delves deeper into just like, spooky possession movie is when I was kind of like, okay, I've seen most of this before. You're not really breaking new ground for me. Yeah. But I mean, we'll get to it. I'm sure there's something that happened in the third act that I thought, okay, that's kind of ballsy. But yeah, the first half of the movie, I liked the setup. I really, really did. I think that's the strongest portion of the movie is the first half, personally.
Yeah, Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, the story, too much of a rehash, or did they make it new enough to keep you interested?
Honestly, if you've seen one possession movie, you've seen The Exorcist, it's possession. What are you going to do? It felt a lot, like I said earlier, like for me, it built up and then kind of just plateaued. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something to kind of, I know I'm jaded because I watch these, kind of movies all the time, but I was expecting something to just really like you said, like just balls to the wall, just go for it. I was kind of giggling too when the little girl's in church, like messing with the shit in the altar, and she started walking down, and I'm like, here it goes. Oh shit, here it goes. I'm like, y'all about to see some shit, and then she just starts screaming, the body and the blood. I was like, oh, I thought you're gonna like come crawling down the fucking aisle and like the blood coming out of your mouth and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Nothing really kind of happened. I was like, well, neat.
And the only thing that Friedkin and had her spider walk down the aisle.
That's what I mean. That's what I was expecting. Yeah. I was expecting her to start crawling and like twisting her neck around or do something crazy, I think I don't remember where they were. They were in a house and like there was a staircase. I'm like, oh, I thought she was gonna come running down the stairs too. But Or she was gonna stand in the middle of the aisle and just start peeing herself like Reagan did at the party or something. I don't know.
That's what I was expecting.
That would have been
especially
a fun
in the
Easter egg. I think
church.
they kind of missed. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. That would have been a fun little.
Yeah,
Easter egg
I was like,
coming
I
in.
thought something like wild was about to go off. Like the pastor's trying to like say something, and as he's watching this little girl come down the aisle, I was like, oh, okay, well, she's not feeling good. Let's take her out. But I think the only thing that it still just felt like the first movie to me. A lot of the same beats. The only thing that was different was like the setup to get where we were going, like the story of the two girls just leaving after school and having a good old fun time in the woods and the trees and some watery ditch somewhere, instead of just, happening upon a Ouija board and talking to Captain Howdy, which I'm like, oh yeah, because it's like it already happened. You see it and you're like, oh crap, well, you already opened the door, Reagan, good job. Well, here we go. off to the races. I don't know. It just didn't. That was the only thing that was really different to me. Otherwise, I'm like, it just kind of feels like the original Exorcist in a way. There's a lot of the same story there, which I'm like, yeah, I've seen this movie. I lied. There's not one. There was two moments where I was kind of like my jaw was like, whoa, dropped and hit the floor. But possession, I don't know.
To me, I hate when people say there's no original ideas in movies. Every movie is kind of like another movie in some way, shape, or form. There's plenty of girl meets boy movies. There's plenty of, slasher chasing kids through the woods movies. But to me, it's all in the presentation. You can take an idea that's been done before as long as you present it differently, present it in a way that's a little bit unique, that's a little bit your own. You got to take it with the characters, make the characters likable. You can do something again and make it look good. For the most part, I thought this movie did it. I mean, again, there was some again, Ellen Burstyn. She's kind of there just to be connective tissue, but I mean, the story didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of. I feel like the main reason you had two girls was because you wanted to make the audience feel as they were watching it like you were doubling the stakes.
Yeah.
Instead of just being one girl like you had Reagan in the first film, now you've got the two girls. Oh, now the stakes have been doubled. Now it's two girls. Well, I don't think it quite hit that way, at least not for me. It was the situation that we all found ourselves in. I think that was what should have been the driving force behind all this, and not just the fact that there was two girls. I think adding especially the initial discourse between the two families, between Leslie Odom Jr. and the parents of the other girl, I think that was just a lot of dramatic filling. I don't think it was necessary. So I kind of did not really care. I mean, I understand that in a situation like that, in reality, these two parents would have different ways of seeing things, and eventually they kind of come together with what needs to be done with the whole exorcism. But I just thought that was kind of filler. It didn't really do anything for me. Especially when you get to the end of the movie and you have that choice that needs to be made. You kind of see it from both perspectives. One kind of understands the choice is the problem. The other one's just like, I got to choose my daughter because, damn it, 3 of the 4 of us here are fathers. We would kind of see it that way too. So you kind of understand it. Right. But I mean, yeah, there was nothing about the story that really blew me away. It was a good presentation of the story. That's one of the things I liked about it. Do I think it was anything really unique or something that stood out above the 73 version? No, not to any measurable or memorable in any memorable way. You know what I mean? But it was good. It wasn't a great movie overall, but it was good. Real quick, I'll go to you first, Nick. The idea of Chris being accosted and having her eyes jabbed out with the crucifix. I mean, that was you talked about it already. That was a very cool moment, but it was a very interesting moment. I think that's the moment you were talking about. You said it was ballsy. I mean, what did you think of that moment? And how did you react to it in the theater as you were watching it?
So I had been prepared for it because a buddy of mine saw the movie a couple months ago, actually, at one of the test screenings, and he told me, he's like, is there anything you want to know? Even though he signed an NDA, But I was like, what's the deal with Burstyn here? And he's like, do you want to know what happens to her? I was like, sure. So I'd been prepared for it. I didn't know in what context it happened. I thought it was going to happen at like the end of the movie. And so when she's in the room and they show the crucifix on the ground, I'm like, uh-oh. Like, and then it happened. Now I will tell you, I loved the callback line after she gouged her eyes out, where she says something about seeing your cunting daughter. I was like, from the first movie, I was like, oh, I love that. That's good. And super, I don't know, super on the nose, David Gordon Green. You know, you could have been a little more subtle with the I want to see my daughter again thing, and then let's just take your eyesight. You know, little on the nose for me. But I mean, to be honest with you, why is this 90-year-old woman facing off a demon? Like, I got to be honest with you. I love Burstyn, and that's the role she's known for. But when she walks in that room with a possessed girl, I'm like, the hell are you going to do? I mean, seriously, I saw 2 able-bodied men in the first movie die. They couldn't deal with it. What are you going to do? So, yeah, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have gouged her eyes out. But, I mean, it does make the moment at the very end of the movie, I do think it makes that moment a little bit more emotional. Like that moment was like, it was a little more special to me because of what Ellen had been through. But I don't think I would have done it. No.
Yeah. Tex, what do you think? That was that was the one moment of the movie that I think really shocked me. I was like, wow, that's interesting, because you know they've got 2 sequels planned after this, and you assume anyway that she is going to play some part. You got to question now exactly what her part's going to be. What do you think when you saw Ellen Burstyn suffer those injuries?
You know, the cynical horror fan in me was like, you know, I bet you wish you had that patriarchy to keep you safe now, huh? You can't see nobody. Who's complaining? You know what I mean? But yeah, no, if you saw the trailer, you saw this scene, because there's like a 2-second shot of Bernstein's eyes all bleeding out in black and white in the trailer. I didn't know where it was, kind of like Nick was just saying. I didn't know where it was going to happen, but I knew it was coming. Like, obviously, they had to fill their quota for the Jamie Lee Curtis, role in these legacy sequels of bringing somebody back so we can tie to a 50-year-old movie. But, you know, why do we need the senior citizen in here fighting Satan? I mean, isn't there a 25-year-old that can handle this? You know, somebody out of the priesthood or anybody. I don't care what faith you are. Just bring somebody in here besides Grandma. But, you know, they had to get that line of, of course, this is from the hospital scene, but, she's been waiting for me, and she already knows me and all this. But, this is not a real gory film. It's not as bloody as the original was. They had to get blood in here somehow. We didn't even see how the girls get like the scars on their face and the markings from that. So, I guess it's a way to make up for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Jeremy, what do you think of Ellen Burstyn and what befell her when she went one-on-one with the devil?
I mean, yeah, you mess with the devil, you gonna get burned. So
you might just get the horns too.
Being that I, portray one in a haunt, I mean, yeah. Don't mess with that. I didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, I was kind of excited to see her, of course. I'm like, oh, cool. I mean, it's. I mean, say what we want to say, but I'm like, it's just kind of impressive. I'm like, she's still here. That's still cool to see her, in this movie, and to still at least be some of that, callback to the original. But again, I mean, we've mentioned Halloween. I'm like, this is the Laurie Strode shit again. Like, why are you still here though? I mean, I don't know. Maybe she could have taken up skeet shooting or something. Like, damn it, you could have done something else other than spout a few words at the possessed child. And I'm like, well, then you got stabbed. So, well, I don't know what you thought was going to happen. You guys are going to hug it out, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I will maintain that I think the Laurie Strode-esque type of role should have gone to Linda Blair. I think it should have been Reagan from the beginning. And it's no slight to Burstyn. I was surprised that a woman that old and that never wanted to do a sequel to this movie she still could command a screen a little bit. She was good. Like I thought she was good, but I think it should have been Linda. I mean, she was the one that went through the exorcism. Ellen says it earlier in the movie. I didn't even witness it, so it's like, it's a little more personal coming from Reagan. Now I know the issue with that was when they wrote this movie, they didn't think that Linda wanted any part of it. And then it got greenlit and they were about to start filming. And Linda goes out on social media and goes, hey guys, heard about it. No, I'm not a part of it. Really bummed about it. And then David Gordon Green was like, well, shit, we had thought you wouldn't want to. So,
well, she spent the last several decades kind of trying to distance herself from this at times. So,
yeah,
I mean, who could blame her for thinking that?
I don't blame her at all, but I will tell you that I actually I spoke to Jason Blum a little bit on Twitter yesterday for the first time. I've tweeted at this dude so many times. He finally recognized me yesterday. And I asked him if I could give him some advice on Deceiver. And he was like, yeah. And I told him, I was like, you need to have Linda be front and center. And he liked the tweet, but he didn't reply. So, but I was like, at least you're hearing from somebody that holds The Exorcist as the greatest horror movie of all time, even though Halloween's my favorite. I think that's the greatest horror movie of all time. And you need to, if you're going to do this, which they are, they absolutely are. They paid all that money for these rights. They're not going to take a bath with it. They're going to try to make their money back. Yeah. So, word of advice, you could have marked. I think this movie would have done better personally had Linda Blair been front and center in the marketing. I really, really do. I think more people care about her than Burstyn. I really do.
I think that Ellen Burstyn. I think that Ellen Burstyn has a place. I personally would have. I like the idea of having Reagan come back first. And then maybe Ellen Burstyn coming back like towards the end of the second film. If you're going to do 3, which I think is was the whole plan for this, I think they're actually contractually going to be doing 3.
Yes.
But if you're going to be bringing both of them back, I say you start with Linda Blair and you bring in Ellen Burstyn like towards the end of the second movie. And if there's going to be like a cliffhanger ending, which is something that they do a lot in Hollywood these days, which I can't stand. But if there's going to be like some kind of a cliffhanger or some kind of an ending that isn't really an ending, it's just the ending of that film, not an ending of the story. But you bring Ellen Burstyn back for the end of the second film. And then maybe in the third film, she can be more involved as like a wise elder to what's going on, because she in this movie she studied the exorcism, the rites of all these different cultures and whatnot, how to battle the devil, how to battle demons. I think her wisdom would have been more useful than her actually walking in that bedroom and being like, hey little girl, I know you're 13 years old and you've got the devil all up in your guts, but I mean, I'm going to go ahead and try to pray on you right now and throw some holy water on you and kind of beat you right now. It's like, now you've got one of your biggest names kind of on the bench, kind of on IR, to use the sports term. So, I mean, I feel, and to top it off with the way that the movie, the very last scene, which we're going to here in a minute, but the very last scene it was more of fan service the way I saw it, because that was the question I had as I was walking in the theater, is like, is that just fan service, or can we expect something more of that character moving forward?
No, you can't.
I don't know that I can expect any more of that character moving forward. I think that would be better,
She's supposed to be front and center in Deceiver. I've been told that from a couple people that know, because the script's already been written. That story's already written for Deceiver, and apparently Linda Blair is a major player in it. So, yeah, I guess it was a way to just kind of like tell the audience, hey, come back for more. But I think you're supposed to be asking them to come back. I feel like you're supposed to leave that taste in their mouth from the beginning of this movie. You got to hook them from the entire way and go, yeah, okay. And then people want to leave and go, damn, I need more, rather than being most people lukewarm at best. And then at the very end, getting that and going, oh, well, that's cool, I guess.
And not knowing for sure what it meant. If it was just fan service, if it was just an Easter egg, or whether it was significant. Because I left there a fan of the first one, wanting it to be significant, wanting it to mean something. But at the end of the day, I was like, I really do feel like it's just them putting Linda Blair on screen for 5 seconds to make, to satisfy me. And then I leave happy after seeing a movie that I may or may not like.
They should have talked to her. I mean, they should have reached out to her before they finished this script. They assumed, what they say about assuming, they assumed that she did not want to be a part of it. So they made this script and they were getting ready to shoot. And then Linda came out and said, what the hell, man, where am I at? And then, so they were like, well, shit, we got to do something about that. Such an oversight. I mean, such an oversight. Imagine making a direct sequel to any classic horror film and not contacting the lead from that movie and seeing if they want to be a part of it, regardless of what they said over the past.
You're telling me that you didn't want to see the Strodes, not Laurie, but parents, in Halloween 2018 as the stars, and then Jamie Lee Curtis comes back? That's not what you want. Hey, how about we bring the Elrods in to star in Halloween 2018? Because they were there. And then we bring in Jamie Lee.
Elrod. I like Mrs. Elrod. She can come back. She's funny.
How about Old Man Charlie? Even better. How about we bring in Old Man Charlie? Right. How about we bring in old man Charlie Bowles, the legend of him. We bring him into Halloween 2018 and then Jamie Lee Curtis. But it's just, you put your best foot forward. I mean, I've made no bones about it. I can't stand Jamie Lee Curtis. I hate her opinion of what horror is and everything that she does. But if you're doing a legacy sequel, you bring back the star. And for Linda Blair not to be here, I mean, I had heard rumors she was going to be there, but, for 2 seconds of a film, go back to Halloween 2018. That film made what, $250 million? That's still like the highest grossing slasher to date, maybe of all time. And that set forward Halloween Kills and Ends and everything else. However you feel about those, they set off on the right foot. The last numbers I saw for Exorcist Believer, it was like 45 million was the number or something that I had seen. I mean, they're obviously going to make a second one, probably a third contractually, like Frank had said. But, I mean, I think Exorcist Believer is coming to VOD by the 24th. Like, it's coming fast. It's not going to have you would think this thing would be in theaters still on Halloween, not on digital already. But, it's obviously underperforming. I mean, it's not gotten good reviews.
The theatrical window changed because of COVID. It's not 90 days anymore. It's 45. So, I mean,
right.
It's
only 45.
We think the movie's bad, so we're going to put it out on VOD really quick. It's just the industry's changing. But,
right.
But yeah, I thought, there's our thoughts on the story. Now let's get to the really hard question. I'll go to you first, Nick. Was this a worthy sequel?
Damn, that's a loaded question.
Right. I've been sitting here thinking about that this whole time.
Yeah. Look,
I don't know.
I walked out of this movie and I gave it a 3 out of 5, and I went in pretty pessimistic. So I ended up being on the fence of it was slightly above average, and I texted Christian, my podcast partner, and because we thought we were going to hate it, and I texted him when I got out and I said, "Dude, I got to be honest, I didn't hate it," and he was like, "Same, I didn't hate it either." So when you look at the history of the Exorcist series, The Exorcist 3, I think, is the only movie after the first one that is worth a damn. So this is automatically by proxy number 3 in the series. Yeah, I mean, so this is already the third best one. Ella Burstyn came back. You set up Linda Blair, although they didn't make it clear enough, but they're setting her up for a larger role in the next one. Yes, I think so. I think it was a worthy enough return. Was it as worthy as something like Halloween 2018? Probably not. No. But I do think it was good enough to be like, okay, wasn't a waste of time. But again, here's the problem we're running into. It's The Exorcist. Is that what we should be walking away from it with? It was okay enough. Like, of course, nothing's going to be the original movie, but like, it should feel different than that. It really should feel different than, So, not a waste of time. I'll wait to see how this trilogy wraps up before you can really look at it, see if it was worth it, if they added new things, if they explored enough new things. You don't really know. But I'd say it's the best Exorcist movie in the past 33 years. So, got that going for it.
Yeah, Jeremy, what about you? Do you think this is a worthy sequel to the greatest of the original?
That is definitely a hard dance to follow. So I know, like when we talked about Saw, it's like, you know what, if that had just been one movie on its own, that shit was mind-blowing. That was a jaw-dropper. That was a holy shit movie. Now, of course, since it makes money, you're like, ooh, let's do it again. I'm like, well, you're not going to do it again, but you can keep doing it, keep adding to your story, to your lore and your world. But I mean, if this new trilogy, I'm like, well, we know what happens with the second movies of these Exorcist movies. We don't talk about Heretic, so fingers
that
crossed.
one doesn't exist.
I know we don't. That's not the box set. We don't talk about that one. It's going to get Ghostbuster 2016. It's not going to be there.
We throw that one away when we buy the box set, Jeremy. That's the proper procedure. That's what you
we'll burn it. We'll do a little exorcism of our own. But yeah, I mean, Exorcist 3, AKA what I call it, the Jeffrey Dahmer special. Yeah, it's better. Oh hell, I don't even know what else there was. Or am I thinking of Blair Witch? There was like a weird like TV thing.
Yeah, and there were 2 prequels. There was Dominion and there was The Beginning, which were essentially the same movie, just recut and released a year apart.
No, of course.
The TV show was actually pretty good. I liked it. I was very upset when it got canceled. It just did not get the ratings because Fox kept moving it from like Tuesdays to Fridays, and they kept playing with it. They didn't. It didn't get a fair shake, but that's what happened.
But yeah, if this is setting up something, I was kind of surprised that I'm like, if you're gonna, I'm hoping you do more with Linda Blair, maybe as you should have in the first place. But whatever, at least we kind of got her back in the end. There was that, I thought it was a really sweet moment. I was like, it was the way it was set up. Like, oh, of course she can't see. She just hears the door open, and I was like, oh, is it her? Is it her? Holy shit. And I'm like, damn, that would suck. She's not actually going to be able to see her. I'm like, damn, but that closure is still really sweet. But hopefully that kind of leads into like, yeah, this devil poked my mom's eyes out. So I almost said Dream Warriors, but you know where I'm going with that.
She's coming back with a shotgun and some shit for the next one. To hunt the devil.
She's coming back with a boomstick and a Necronomicon. She ain't here to play.
Right.
So.
Oh, that'd be so sweet.
So fingers crossed for, I mean, it wasn't, like I said, I didn't hate it either. I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I would say I was on the fence as well.
I'll buy the steelbook.
Tex, how about you? You voiced your opinions. You haven't gotten on your soapbox and really shit on David Gordon Green yet. I'm surprised you managed to hold your tongue to this point.
No,
you see him sit at rock and he's like, I want to say it. I want to say it.
No, you always save your best fireworks for the end of the show, boys. Have y'all never seen 4th of July? Save that for this.
I realized that. Yes, I do know that, actually.
Do you think this is a worthy, maybe not you probably don't think it's a worthy sequel. We've already talked about this kind of between you and me. But, I mean, if not worthy, where do you think it places? Do you agree with Nick that maybe this is already kind of the third best in the franchise?
Well, okay. Well, when you are going to do an Exorcist, The Exorcist, that comes with a certain expectation of quality that you're putting into it. So it's a fair criticism to say, hey, you're telling me this is the 50-year sequel to this. It's not. It did. To this day, when you still watch The Exorcist, I don't care if you've seen it 100 times, you're going to get goosebumps on your arms. The hair on the back of your arms is going to stand up. It is still chilling. There's not one moment in this film where you're scared at all whatsoever. This isn't even the best Exorcist movie this year. The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe was a better Exorcist film than this was, and that got no attention whatsoever. I actually liked it, but
it's getting a sequel, so
I'm actually very happy in that because I want them to expand on what they're doing with that. I actually really enjoyed that movie. But no, this film, it's not a. I'll probably like if I see it again, fine, but I'm not going to go out of my way. I saw it. I went into this with no expectation. I'm watching a Blumhouse mainstream. This was a very corporate and very polished and very clean. This was a safe Exorcist movie. You should not feel safe in an Exorcist movie. That's the biggest sin that this movie commits. And like from when Catherine is walking down the aisle in the church, or there's no shocking, oh my God, how could they put that on screen moments in this movie? It's not an Exorcist film. It's a generic knockoff that we've had 1,000 of since 1973. You know what I mean? And it's not even a great one. It's just it's not bad. It's well made. It's well shot. It looks good. The acting is good, but it's not Exorcist. If you title it something different, it gets graded differently. But you want to be with the king of possession films, well, you're held to that standard. You know what I mean?
Like I was going to say, the only thing that shocked me was I didn't expect Chris McNeil to get her eyes gouged out. And even though it's an Exorcist movie, but I'm waiting for it. I'm like, somebody's head's doing a 180. And I see the two girls.
Oh, well, you got that too. But...
Well, I know, but I was like, I wasn't ready for the priest to come in, and then 3 seconds later, and I'm like, whoa, Jesus.
I will say that was a good moment. That really was.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was, but I think there was two parts in this movie. Well, there's one part that actually did get under my skin that I thought was actually quite effective. And it was one, I loved that one of them died. I really did like that. And I thought that it played into the story because we had been told this entire time Angela and her dad were really close. They had a good relationship. They understood each other. And it seemed like the other family, I don't think they really knew their daughter. And it just showed throughout the movie. It's like, and her dad, like, what a bitch. Like, I'm going to hide off in the other room while my daughter's fighting for her soul.
Yeah.
Like,
Fucking
the
cowards.
least you can. Yeah. So it was great that the demon knew one of them would play into their worst impulses, and the demon was tricking you. Yeah, choose one. The one you choose is the one I take. I loved that personally. But the moment when they take Catherine, when she's in the barrier between worlds almost, and she's in that purgatory, that moment kind of creeped me out. When
the hands come out,
little
he's
girl,
like, I choose you.
She's scared.
Like,
yeah, and it's like, I choose you, and pulls her to hell. I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy. Like, I genuinely was like, that's pretty fucked up. This is a little girl. So, but yeah.
Don't play with demons, kids.
This is why you don't fuck with Ouija boards in a cave, chanting incantations.
Right.
We've all seen this movie, damn it. We all know that. We all know how this turns out. Pay attention. I'll save this one for later on when we get to the trivia because it does play into one of my trivia things. But I'll go to you first, Tex. What do you think the planned sequels are going to look like? Because as I sit here and listen to you guys talk about whether it was a worthy sequel, it occurs to me that David Gordon Green already has kind of this way of doing things that we've seen with the Halloween movies. He's not playing it out in one movie. He's playing it out over 3. So I feel like we've seen kind of the first act of what his plan is, and that's why maybe this movie in some ways doesn't quite hit, that we're meant to look at these 3 movies as a whole, kind of like we look at the Star Wars individual trilogies and stuff like that. We're meant to look at them in a bigger perspective than what we've gotten so far. So what do you think the sequels will look like moving forward?
Well, if the reports that I read today are accurate, David Gordon Green, apparently he has laid out what 2 and 3 are supposed to be, but he may not direct them from what I've read. Now, that could go either way. We'll see. But haven't we had enough Exorcist sequels to know that we don't need another sequel? I mean, it might be okay, but it's just, in my opinion, I think The Exorcist is just much like Jaws. It's one of those movies. It's so good. It's a one and done. You don't need it anymore. Obviously, we know we're getting to more. So if we have to, like Nick had said, earlier, you make Linda Blair your focus, center the evil back around her. She's your star. She's where your money's at, and somehow bring that creep factor back into it. I know with today's modern cinemas, which is weird because we've got films like Terrifier that are just gore-filled messes. I want to see the psychological level of what a Terrifier is in an Exorcist movie. If I were directing it, that's where I'd go. I would ask, okay, where's the line? And I'm going to go this close to it. I'm going to scare the pants off of you and probably trouble the next 3 generations that watch this movie, because that's what you have to do for exorcism. This film, like Frank, you and I talked about, it's not my favorite, all time. That goes to Chainsaw. But most psychologically damning, it's got to be Exorcist. And if you're going to do a proper Exorcist movie, you got to scar some people. Don't be safe. That's my biggest head. If I were to head, that's where I'd go.
Jeremy, what about you? What do you think the planned sequels are going to look like? What would you do?
I think, I would go lean a little heavier into Linda Blair being your focus in this. I don't really know what we're gonna do here. I assume we solved the problem for now, I guess. But I mean, I guess there's kind of some loose ends. We got like another family that's kind of torn apart, and now the Angela and Victor now have to kind of deal with what they just went through. And they never really, I mean, like at the end of the original, they explained like, oh yeah, Regan doesn't remember any of this. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I'm like, we don't know if this girl, remembers what happened or if any of that stayed with her. So I don't know. I guess I could say the devil works in mysterious ways, or in tricks and riddles and tongues. I don't know, but maybe kind of switch the focus of like Chris McNeil and Linda Blair. Maybe just kind of. I mean, she's kind of a weird blind messiah now. I don't know what the hell she was doing in the hospital bed, like reaching out and shit. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there's no one there. I don't know. She sounded like a weird Order 66, like Yoda moment where she's like clutching her heart because she knows something was happening, like, the other side of town. I was like, okay, are you like, I don't know.
See, I didn't think Yoda. I thought Neo from Matrix 3 when he goes blind, but he can still see in the Matrix.
He's the blind
That's
messiah.
what I saw.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you think? If I gave you control of the stories for the next 2 Exorcist movies that are supposed to be coming in this trilogy, what do you think they would look like? What would you do with them?
I mean, yeah, pretty similar. I think that you make Linda Blair your focus. I think that because this wasn't called out. I mean, they alluded to it in the movie, but like we never really we didn't get to know who the demon was. Like, I want that line not blurred in the next movie. I want to
what
know
is your
that
name?
it's the same. Yeah, like it's the same demon that messed with Reagan 50 years ago. And I think that makes it a little more personal with Linda Blair. So I think you need to unblur that line. I think you need to make her center focus. And, quite frankly, I like David. I do as a director. I don't love him. I like him. But I'm okay with him not directing the next 2. If I have my druthers, you want to find somebody that can do the psychological well, you hire Mike Flanagan to direct Deceiver. You hire Mike Flanagan because he can do that in modern day better than pretty much anybody else. He's yet to make something I don't like. I mean, how many people can make a sequel to The Shining and have most people say it was actually good? I mean, you didn't expect that to happen. So I would hire Mike Flanagan. I would make Linda the focus. I would unblur the lines of this demon's identity to really get that connection to the first movie. And I'm just going to say this. I already fucking know the third movie is going to be called Redeemer. I don't care what anybody say. I know it is. You got Believer, Deceiver. It's going to be Redeemer. That's just the way. So, I mean, the theme of this movie was belief. Believing in things you can't see, having faith, strengthening your faith. And that's, it's a cool moral point to make. And this next one, I think the title is telling. I think that this demon lied to them. They were deceived somehow. How were they deceived? I don't think the demon's gone. I think it's gone out of Angela, but I don't think it's gone. So, and then the next one will be Redeemer, and it'll be, Jesus Christ himself will come down from heaven. And who knows? But that's what I would do.
Oh,
directed by Kirk.
Who was hang on, wait a minute. In Exorcist 3, who was the guy that was on all the romance novels that was in Exorcist 3 with the long blonde hair? Who was that guy? Fabio or Fabio, whatever.
Fabio.
If he's still alive, so that way we can canonize Exorcist 3 as because it's one of the good ones. We have him come back playing Jesus Christ as he was there the whole time, and have him come back and just put a beard on him. He'll be fine. He's already got the long hair.
Just wait. We're building to this universe, the Christ cinematic universe where Exorcist 3 is going to cross paths with Passion of the Christ, and Jim Caviezel's going to come in.
Jim Caviezel's
going to direct it. Yeah, and it's going to be this whole shared Christ universe. Yeah.
If somehow we can, if technically Blumhouse does have Halloween, we never saw their Dr. Loomis. Maybe we can bring in Mel Gibson as Dr. Loomis and be, the evil's here. We must kill it. Do the whole Loomis speech. That'd be great too. We can just MCU this thing all over the place.
So the first time you'd have a Dr. Loomis that's jacked up that you think might actually be able to take Michael Myers. Let's do it. I'm down.
We all saw The Patriot. Man, he could take him out.
Hell yeah.
Dome Biscuits getting into gunfights with what was it, South American drug lords or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I saw that I remember Mel Gibson in was Daddy's Home 2. And that dude was jacked in that movie. He was huge. I was like, this guy's in his Arnold phase where he gets old and he just gets gigantic. And it's like, I mean, hey, he's Loomis. Let's do it.
Let's go. But let's take a little bit of a deeper dive before we get into the trivia. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into that last scene. The last few minutes, a very emotional kind of moment, one that was a bit of a shock to some people who maybe are not don't read into the movies as they're getting ready to come out the way that we do. But I'll go to you first, Jeremy. When Reagan walks in there and says, "Hey, Mom, it's me," it was a great emotional beat. How did that hit you when it happened in the theater?
Again, I've seen a movie before. It's already set up. I'm like, oh, she can't see. She hears the door open. She's like, "Is that you, Victor?" I'm like, no, come on, it's got to be. I see her reach out, and she says, "Hey, Mom." I'm like, oh shit. And then like the movie ends. I'm like, oh, bye. See you in the sequel, I guess. Thanks for showing up for 3 seconds. I don't know. She may have only been there like one day or some shit. I don't know. But of course, I wanted more. And again, I knew I was I've seen a movie before. I was hoping when Victor was first talking to Chris McNeil, and he's seen the pictures of Linda Blair when she was younger, Reagan rather, whatever, when she was younger. And I'm like, they're setting up this whole, I don't know where she is. And this book basically kind of ruined both of our lives in a way. Like, she didn't want to talk to me. I'm like, there's got to be some sort, even if maybe it's at the very end of this movie, which of course it was. I'm like, there's got to be some little closure or redemption right here, and at least a little bit of a sucker for it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad you at least showed up. But like we're talking about with this another movie, I'm like, come on, but fucking just go for it, go big, go balls to the wall, and put her in there. So, because that's what we want to see. Like, don't do the Laurie Strode shit where I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool shot of her like walking against everyone, running the opposite fucking way. She's got a knife in her hand. I'm like, yeah, let's go toe to toe. You're gonna stay in a hospital bed the whole movie. Okay, that was fun to watch for me. Okay.
Hey, I love Halloween Kills is the best out of the Blumhouse Halloweens, and I'll find anybody
it
that
is.
otherwise.
Yeah, it is, dude. But then, like, when we don't get a damn fight until the end of the last one, and I'm like, cool, she dropped a fridge on him. Cool. You're come on. I didn't want to see Grandma and Grandpa fucking fight in the kitchen, and she's like, here, fucking ham on rye, hold the mayo, bitch.
Hey,
whatever.
We already did a
don't
3-hour yell session about that movie a year and a half ago or whatever. We done been there already. It is what it is.
Don't do the Ian Malcolm shit. Like, you showed his entirety of the movie in just the trailer, and I'm like, fucking really? I mean, you had me excited. I thought, ooh, cool. We'll see him. And then, like, he's giving the speeches, and I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, that's it. Thanks for blue balling me.
Well, they made up for it a little bit in the next movie with Ian Malcolm, let's be fair.
Yeah, I know.
But Tex, I don't know.
He did have a pretty badass moment.
Tex, what did you think about that final scene when Reagan walks in and talks to her mother, Chris?
I kind of expected it. I thought it's either going to be here or some sort of post-credit scene, because you can't revive Exorcist and not bring back Linda Blair. I mean, obviously Jason Miller, Ellen Burstyn and everybody else is, they're stars, but I mean, besides the statue of Pazuzu, what's the image that everybody sees of when you say Exorcist? They see Reagan's face. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You got it on the shirt right there. Yeah. So you knew she was coming. If you were any kind of movie fan, horror fan, or if you had half a working brain, Linda Blair was coming at some point. And I would have liked to have seen more. Maybe sprinkled in a few phone calls, during the movie of Ellen Burstyn calling her daughter, and we see Linda pick up the phone but not answering her. Just a little something more would have been good, but maybe they didn't have her long. I don't know. But it was the best way to end to, like we said earlier, to set up for Deceiver, be like, oh, hey, come back in 2 years. We got Linda Blair back. But, like I said, it was a very generic overall film, but it ended, I hate to compare it to Halloween as much as I am, but I can't help it with the people. I mean, you get the same people behind it on every level, even down to Chris Nelson doing the makeup and stuff, which he did well, by the way, on the girls. Halloween 2018, we left off with Michael sitting, in the burning basement looking up at us like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to die here, even though we know he did.
Yeah.
But they left this one off a little too happy to start a trilogy, I thought, because, 18 led off right into a bloodbath, whereas this one, I don't think, let's see, not the black girl, that wasn't Catherine. What was the other one's name?
Angela.
The Catherine Angela.
Angela. I don't think the demon has left Angela. I think the demon's still in there, and that's what the deceiver is about. And we're going to come to learn that or whatever. But as far as, Linda Blair leading into it, maybe we find out she's some kind of demonologist or something. If her mom was into it, she could be as well. That's where I'd go with it. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Nick. I mean, that final scene at the end of the movie where Linda Blair walks in and makes contact with her mom, I thought it was a nice emotional beat to kind of finish off the chaos of the movie. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was going to show up at the very end of the movie. I just didn't know how that was going to come about. And obviously, as everybody said, when the door opens and she says, "Victor, is that you?" It's not. It's not. Especially
the camera angles kind of gave it away.
Yes, and the music was very hopeful. It was like this, almost like, I don't know. You could just feel it. The music was swelling. You're like, nah, it ain't Victor, unless you and Victor are gonna, become something special. Which I don't know about that. But I knew from the moment, like, the camera starts panning up, and you see this bean pole, and I knew that was Linda Blair, because she is tiny, and obviously they pan up to her, and I'm like, yeah, it's Linda. But I will say, with the music, all that considered, yeah, it worked for me. It really did. It kind of, hit me right here. I was like, oh, wow. Even if just not even like independent of this movie, just like, wow, these two that were in a movie 50 years ago together, that is so important to film, like, to see them back on screen together again, even if just for a moment, was really, really cool as a horror fan. And it kind of reminded me of how I felt at the end of Halloween Ends, where it's showing all the shots like it did at the original movie at the end around the house. And then Don't Fear the Reaper came up. When Don't Fear the Reaper came up, regardless of how anybody felt about that movie, you're just kind of like, oh, God damn, we're throwing it back.
Right. Takes you back to a special place in time.
Yeah, that's what this ending did for me. It just really hit me right there, where I was like, whew, all right. And I'm ready. And then Tubular Bells kicks up, and you're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah,
I like how they mixed that in this movie too. They kind of added there's kind of like a rock element to it.
Yeah, there's 4 different.
There are 4. I knew they sounded different.
Yep. And I downloaded the score. The score is so good for this movie. Like, it is very good. I've been listening to it like every day. So I loved it. I actually recorded. I didn't even know. I was like recording the credits after the movie was over, just for a little bit, because I loved the Tubular Bells and the old font. And I happened to be recording when it said, and Linda Blair is Reagan McNeil. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. This was perfect timing. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it. Not only do you get that moment, but then you go right to the old style, the old font and Tubular Bells and shit. I'm like, all right, I'm in. If you guys are doing another one, fucking when is it? Like, that was kind of how I was.
Yeah, I was actually, I knew that if she, I had heard all the rumors that she was going to be in it in some small capacity. I had heard all that. And I figured it was probably going to be something like what we ended up getting her in. But there was a part of me as I was watching it, and when I first see the priest walk in after the guy says, hey, man, the fight's in here, part of me was like, I really hope he walks in. He comes from like this side of the screen and comes in, and then right behind him, maybe Linda Blair, who is going to be like, yeah, motherfucker, you know me. Me and you have done this dance before. Come on. And then Linda Blair would be kind of the one person that kind of she was the deciding factor in casting the demons out of this girl. That would have been pretty phenomenal. And I think from that point on, you could have maybe more clearly and just as awesomely set her up to be a piece of this franchise moving forward for the next couple of films. But at the same time, I kind of get it. You don't want to blow your load right now. You got Ellen Burstyn. She was in the film. She wasn't as significant as I was hoping she would be, but she was significant enough. She was a giant motivator to the characters in this film, to be sure. And then, of course, you get Reagan at the very end. It was a nice emotional beat to kind of bring you down a little bit from the chaos of the exorcism, which took we talked about this when we did the Exorcist last week, the first movie from '73, that the exorcism scene was only 9 minutes long. It seemed like the exorcism scene in this movie was probably most of the third act. I mean, it took a minute to get through. They definitely made that a significant part of the last third of the movie. So it was a nice little kind of emotional feel-good come down from the chaos of that of the whole exorcism. So I thought it was cool. I would have liked to have seen her kind of be the Captain Save-A-Ho, the hero in this whole thing, and just kind of come in at the last minute and be like, "Yo, devil, remember me? Let's do this dance again because I already beat you once." But yeah, I thought it was a great emotional moment. It was. I really wish I could have seen Ellen Bernstein act with her eyes. Because I talk a lot about how actresses.
Wouldn't that have been nice, David Gordon Green? You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know. That's why I love about Kate Blanchett. She acts with her eyes. It's one of the things that attracts me to her as a performer. And I would have loved to have seen that look in Ellen Bernstein's eyes because her being such an experienced actress, especially on the dramatic side. I mean, to say nothing of The Exorcist. I mean, so much of her work has been dramatic, such great character work. To have seen her emote that way when Reagan walked in, I think we were kind of robbed of that. But I mean, ultimately, it was a very good emotional moment. It was the tone in her voice. I think said a lot when she realized it was Reagan. When Reagan kneels down and says, "It's me, Mom," and it's like it was not one of those moments that I almost cried in a movie, but I was just like, that's a really good emotional beat. That kind of hits you in a different place. It doesn't scare you. It hits you a different place. It touches on that nostalgic part of all of us that love a movie from back in 1973. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty cool. But let's get into a little bit of trivia now before we get out of here. You were talking about Ellen Bernstein, why she actually did this to begin with. She actually turned down reprising her role and was then offered double the salary. Bernstein thought, quote, "I feel like the devil is asking my price." But she eventually accepted, using her salary from this film to fund an MFA scholarship for actors at Pace University, where the Actors Studio teaches the program. Bernstein is a lifelong member of the Actors Studio and the co-president. So I forget who was mentioning it earlier, but yeah, that's what she ended up. Jeremy, I think it may have been you, but that's what she did with the money that she made from this movie. And she helped get somebody else into acting, which is good. So kind of a nice way, considering everything that Ellen Bernstein and Linda Blair went through in making the first movie. We talked about this last week when we did the original film, the injuries, the chaos. I mean, the curse, if you believe in that kind of thing. It seems like a good way to kind of make sure this is going to be a more positive experience. I don't know, Jeremy, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, you definitely didn't have a serial killer in, the actual movie, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they pushed her around either, like Friedkin did.
She didn't get jerked around this time by the crew guys. So.
Yeah, and that I know I wasn't here for the review, but man, that thud she took in that movie, that shit was real. Holy
and you can
crap.
see it on her face. Yeah. You can see it on her face too in the movie.
Right, I'm like,
they kept that shot.
That scream, man, that's some real pain. Yeah.
I think both the shot, I think we talked about this last week. I think both the shot where she gets hurt and when Linda Blair got injured by the bed.
They're both in the film. Yeah.
I think they're both there.
They're both the shots that they were injured ended up in the film. So yeah, a little bit of a little bit of real life into the thing.
Making movies is dangerous, man. So yeah, at least there's much crap that surrounded that movie. Yeah, I mean, you probably want as much positivity that comes out of it as you possibly can.
And all that aside, too, it's really shitty for Linda. Nobody can really know what she went through because, it wasn't even just filming that movie. It was the after effect of it. Being the first really big demonic possession movie, the first of its kind. People thought that she was evil. That little girl, that teenage girl, her normal everyday life changed after that movie because it was I saw you in that movie. You're a fucking devil. And that was a big reason. I couldn't believe she came back for The Heretic, believe it or not. And God, she might as well not have because that movie does exist. But just wow. Nowadays you see it like we were talking about every other day. There's a new demon movie, whatever, nobody thinks anything of it. But back then it was oh my God, you're the devil. And it's no, I'm not. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost kind of surprised she came back for this one. I mean, maybe they pitched her and they were like, hey, here's the idea for the next 2 films. So if you're going to be a part of it, here it is. But I mean, that thing, I mean, we talked about it, Tex, me and you, when we did the Exorcist review last week, that, I mean, she had to have personal security paid for by the studio after, for the year or so after the first movie came out in 73, because people were just insane. I mean, they didn't know how to handle this movie. They thought that she was really crazy possessed. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that she agreed even to come back for this one, but we'll have a little bit more about her later on. You guys mentioned it earlier. The Exorcist in 1973 was followed by The Exorcist in 2016 on Fox, a television show, which acts as a direct sequel to the original movie and ignores the other films in the series. Despite widespread critical acclaim, Fox canceled the series after its 2nd season. Presumably, this movie will wipe the slate clean and offer an updated take on the William Peter Blatty novel, if it is actually going to be produced as part of the second or third movie. I don't know. What do you think, Nick? I don't know. You guys mentioned it earlier. I never saw the Exorcist television series. Was it really all that good?
It's good. It's good. It is definitely good. And I would. Tex, I know he's seen it. I don't know if Jeremy has. There's a scene. There's a moment in the first season. There's this character reveal that I'm like, oh, that's so fucking lame.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah. It's like, why are we doing that? But it's still a solid season, but season 2 is really good. Season 2 was really good. I really liked the second season a lot. And the only narratives that carry over from season 1 to season 2 are the 2 priests. That's it. There's nothing else. So if you were watching season 1 and you were like, I just can't get into this, you can go to season 2. It's not really a sequel, except in the sense of it's just the 2 same priests with a whole new family, a whole new situation.
Well, and not just that, they can't really, and like I said, without spoiling that, because that TV show's so good enough that I don't want to spoil anybody who hasn't. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. You can go find it, but they can't really put one of the seasons in this continuity because there's going to be some overlapping problems with casting. But it's worth watching. It's in the multiverse of exorcism, if you want to call it, or whatever. It's one you should go out and watch. It was on it. I mean, it was obviously under TV standards, and they didn't go, let Jesus Christ fuck you and masturbate with a crucifix or anything. But they were able to pull off the creep factor of Exorcist on a TV scale, and I would recommend anybody to go out of their way and watch it, because it's kind of like a True Detective kind of thing. It's the same priest but a different story kind of vein. But yeah, it's one y'all need to go watch out or watch out for. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if you eagle-eyed people noticed. You guys being the horror experts much more than me may have noticed. At the beginning of the movie, a small sculpted creature can be seen in Angela's room. This is the same creature Reagan drew with the wings in the first movie in 1973. I didn't notice.
I didn't pick up on that.
I didn't see it.
I did, but that's just because I read an article beforehand about some of the Easter eggs.
Okay,
so
fair
I certain Easter eggs, yeah.
Yeah, I'm tempted to. I'm probably going to watch this movie again. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters, but I'll probably watch this movie again. I'll be looking for it. Was it the one statue, like the gargoyle with the wings? Was it that one?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It was a statue of Pazuzu that Jeremy held up a minute ago.
Yeah, it's it's in her room. You see it. I think maybe just once, maybe twice. I don't know.
Fuck you.
The power of Christ compels you.
I knew you. I was like,
the power of Christ compels you.
Bastard.
I've been looking for a chance to do that, like the last half hour. So just
that was good. Thank you.
Just throw it up there to see if anybody noticed. but yeah, I didn't catch that when I watched it, but I'll go back and watch it again, because this is probably a movie I'll give it a second watch or so. But let's get on to one of the things that we talked about Linda Blair and her involvement in this. Linda Blair was actually from the original 73 film, was an advisor on the set to the actresses portraying the possessed girls in this film. Nice. So I'll start with you, Jeremy. How did these girls and their performances compare with Linda Blair's the original 73 film?
I mean, it's you got a early teenage girl being possessed by a demon, so I don't really know. No one had Linda Blair call me up and give me pointers on how to do that, so I don't know what to expect out of that. It still kind of had, that like really creepy factor to it. That's like, it's like that devil always knows something about you, and like, I mean, in the movie it revealed, what we assume happened to the dad when the mom got injured in the earthquake, and then it just bomb drops you like, yeah, you weren't going to save me, you were going to save your wife. I'm like, oh, that's really shitty. Holy crap. Damn. It's like devil's pulling some punches here. So yeah, and again, I don't know, I've seen Exorcist, I've seen possession movies, but I mean, it's like with, I don't know how they do it with The Walking Dead. I'm like, there's only so many ways a zombie can walk, but apparently there's a lot. And, that's something they take pretty seriously. So I don't know. I mean, who else better? I wouldn't have taken pointers from anyone else. I mean, if Linda Blair is going to come in and tell me, hey, no, like, turn your head this way. Like, just do this shit and cross your eyes, stick your tongue. I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to do something great, go to somebody who does it great and learn from them. I think that's one of the best ways you can learn how to do anything. But I don't know, Nick, what do you think? I mean, Linda Blair, she was on set coaching these girls. She's the OG, the possession queen. What did you think about these girls compared to what the performance we got from Linda Blair?
I thought they did a good job. I did. I was worried about my main issue going into this movie was I was worried about the demon dialogue. Knowing that Danny McBride had a hand in the writing, I just kept thinking of like peanut butter on my penis and Evil Dies Tonight, and I was like, please, for the love of God, don't have Pazuzu saying some dumb shit. I'll be honest, for the
you obviously missed the opening to this show. Then I use one of those lines.
Yeah. So like I think that the dialogue was actually quite good. I thought that the girls did a really good job. The only thing is they weren't asked to do what Linda was. Linda got put through the freaking ringer in that movie, and clearly making films 50 years later is totally different. You're not going to ask a child to do that. So they didn't have to do as much, but I will say the dual exorcism in the third act of the movie, I thought both of the girls were, specifically Angela, was creepy. She was creepy in that exorcism. The makeup was great. One of my favorite lines from the trailer, which I am so upset that it didn't make it in the movie, was when Catherine says, "Mommy, I don't want to go to hell." When I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh, fuck, like that hit me in a place of just, because like, I don't know, if demonic possession is real and that were happening to a child, I mean, who's to say? I come from a religious upbringing, but like, imagine being in that situation, that being your kid, and like they're literally fighting for their soul, and just saying that to you as a parent and not being able to do anything about it. They replaced it with the line of "I don't want to die," which just didn't work as well for me.
Not as good.
Yeah, but they did a good job. The girls did. They really did do a good job. I could have done without the floating part. I mean, fucking, like, how many times do I need to see a possession movie where the possessed floats like they're Jesus Christ? Like, that shit is so annoying. But everything else, I was like, yeah, they did fine.
Tex, what about you? What did you think about how do you compare Linda Blair's performance with the performance of these two girls?
I think any comparison of these two girls to Reagan is not going to go well for them. I mean, that's like comparing bologna to steak. I mean, it's just, I'm not saying they were bad, but I mean, Reagan is literally the embodiment of the Exorcist. She's the poster. She's the image that, I mean, if you just walk up to a random person and tell them to imagine a possessed girl, they see Linda Blair in The Exorcist, and as good as Christopher Nelson did with the makeup on these girls, I mean, he designed all the Halloween stuff, and he did this as well. He did great. Their look was good. Angelo, with the whole God played a trick on you, of course, that was in the trailer as well. It plays well, but I for their sake, I don't want to compare them because nobody's ever going to measure up to what Linda Blair did in 73. And of course, I mean, y'all have already touched on the extreme conditions of freaking firing off shotguns to get reactions and putting freezing cold air conditioners in there to get, that breath effect and everything else. To me, it's apples and oranges here. It's, they did fine, but with a lot of things in this film, it was just meh to me because once again, you slap the name Exorcist on it, you're on another standard.
Yeah, for me, like I said earlier, it's really hard to get a teenage girl in front of a camera and then say, do something other than being Hannah Montana or something like that. Don't just be the cute girl who says cute things and dresses in, bright, cute clothing. It's really difficult. One of the things I like, a movie that I've been wanting to do a review on for a while is Super 8. And I've always thought that was interesting in that movie. It's these kids are making a movie inside a movie, and they're dealing with this crazy situation that's going on about an alien and whatever the hell is going on in their town and all that stuff, and the emotional stuff that's happening for the one kid, the loss of his mother and the strained relationship with his dad. That was a very complicated role to play for children. I thought that one of the things that made that movie fantastic was the fact that those kids played those roles very well. And they were so much more than just going out there and being cute in front of a camera, saying cute things, or maybe even shocking things. Like, you don't hear a lot of 13-year-old kids, dropping F-bombs or swearing a whole lot on TV these days. But these girls, it was kind of the same thing. It's not so easy to go out there and put this kind of talent, this kind of ability into acting possessed. I mean, because you could very easily. I mean, I would go out there and just be like, "Oh yeah, fucking, I'm twitching a lot and I'm vomiting pea soup," and I wouldn't have half the skill that these girls tended to show at various points in this film. It's really hard to go out there and give a textured performance sometimes, and I thought they did a fantastic job. But Tex is right. You're holding up against Linda Blair, who is the gold standard of being possessed on film, and having Linda Blair there and maybe saying, turn it down here a little, turn it up there a little. How do you want to deliver this demon dialogue? How do you want to look at the camera? It's I always like that Anthony Perkins is somebody that's always been very interesting to me because if you watch him in so many of the things, he's just he was an attractive guy. He would get on camera, he would look and smile and be great. But then you get him in Psycho, and all he does is he does that thing where he looks kind of down like this and looks at the camera, and his entire image changes. That to me is fantastic acting, turning yourself into something that you're not. And the girls, I think, did something similar to that in this movie. I thought they did fantastic. The possession stuff could have been where this movie really went wrong. I mean, it could have been cartoonish and stupid, but they actually did it very, very well. So
the best thing you can say about the movie is that they didn't ruin it with the possession stuff. Like you could have had some terrible dialogue, some bad performances, and you would have just been taken out of the movie. And they didn't do that. So kudos to them. But I mean, yeah, as everybody said, Linda's the gold standard. I mean, I won't even lie to you. In my everyday life, like Friday morning when I was at work by myself before anybody got there, I was just walking around going, "Fuck me!" Like, it's just, there's like Linda. She's the golden standard. Like in my everyday life, I find myself like quoting The Exorcist to be funny. But like when I was a kid, that shit wasn't fucking funny, and it's not funny now. But I can laugh about it. Yeah, she's the freaking goat. Like I don't even. Nobody's still to this day. Nobody's done demonic possession better, I think, than a 13-year-old Linda Blair. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll skip this next piece because we've already talked about the stuff. I mean,
what a great day for an exorcism, am I right, guys?
Yeah, the one I had, we've already talked about it a lot. Is the Blumhouse spent $400 million to secure the filming rights, and on top of that, had to guarantee a trilogy, even if Believer bombs at the box office. The next two films have to be made. I don't know, Nick. Do you see? What do you think of that deal? Does it make sense?
No. I was talking to my buddy the other day. I know The Exorcist is what it is, but it ain't Star Wars. I mean, on no planet should a horror franchise's rights be $400 million, especially a horror franchise that's hardly a freaking franchise, dude. Like, it's just The Exorcist and then a bunch of shit mostly. So it's like $400 million. Like, let this be a lesson to Universal. Y'all got fleeced. I mean, they worked you over and you paid it. I mean, whatever. And I hope it ends up turning a profit for them when it's all said and done. But they knew going into this, they were playing the long game. The first movie was not going to end up being profitable for them. That's fine. They're trying to revitalize this brand and build out this franchise. So, I mean, good luck. Like, truly, I don't want to see Blumhouse back out now. I really don't. And Blum did say earlier this year when he was asked about it, he was like, the deal we made was for a trilogy. So those movies are coming no matter what. I hope he sticks to that because, look, I mean, yeah, this didn't do as well as you wanted. It's still going to make well over $100 million when it's all said and done. And it's a good jumping off point. Anytime you make an R-rated sequel to a 50-year-old movie and it makes over $100 million, that's not a bad place to start. But you need to take the criticism from the people this time around, and you need to fix it next time around. And then you can make more. So, but yeah, $400 million, you're fucking kidding me. Halloween, Blumhouse didn't even pay that much for Halloween. Like, they paid like $200, and that's Halloween. That's a cash cow. Like, Universal got bent over and taken to the woodshed there.
Yeah, the budget for this movie, according to Wikipedia, so take it as you will, was only $30 million. So, I mean, $400 million for the rights. If you can keep the budget down and these movies can be moderately financially successful, maybe that makes it easier for that $400 million to turn into a profit. I don't know, Tex, what do you think? I mean, we're going to get the trilogy. Do you think it's going to end up being profitable?
I don't think there's any way Blumhouse makes money on this. They better hope Megan and all of their other little franchises that Blumhouse has going, they better hope they pull off something to make up the deficit of this, because there's no way they're getting their initial investment back. I mean, to get the $400 million back, I mean, for the ones that don't know watching, they have to make basically double of that $400 million to make any money. Because let's say it just makes $400 million on the dot, they're going to get less than half of that. It's going to go to theater owners. They're going to have to pay actors. They're going to do everything else. This isn't even counting the money that goes into each film, the $30 million for this one, whatever they spend for the next two. So they're going to have to make probably $1 billion to make anything off of this franchise. I don't see it happening. And this is kind of happening at a very interesting time because, I mean, the rights for Halloween are back up. You've got A24 in talks. Jason Blum has kind of hinted that he may not be done making Halloween films. So if they want to process going forward towards any of that, Exorcist is going to have to clean up because they put a lot of money behind this cash cow, and I don't think he's going to make it film. So I don't see it happening.
I think Deceiver is critical. It's crucial to what happens with this. And I think the only way you got to come out swinging. I mean, you got to have Linda front and center, but not just that. I don't know what you guys think about this. I think you need to get a big name actor on board. You need to get somebody that everybody knows nowadays. And that, that also the strike will be over obviously by the time that comes out. So you can actually go to old school marketing again, red carpet, press, that definitely helps. But I mean, we're talking, you bring somebody in here that people know, like it's going to help the box office receipts next time. But I think the thing at the end of the day that's the most important is get good reviews and you'll have legs. You might only open to 35 million domestically, but you could leg that shit out to 120 domestically if it's got good reviews. So make a good movie. I mean, I like this. It seems like all of us are in agreement. This movie at worst is just fine. You didn't hate it, didn't dislike it. But I want to walk away from the next one going, holy shit, like that was good.
I want to walk away from this one really excited for the third one. Like walking out and be like, I cannot wait for what the third one's going to give me.
There is one thing I am worried about. There is one thing I'm worried about. Blumhouse is releasing a lot of films. I mean, Frank, you and I were, you had just posted the Five Nights at Freddy's is doing the day and date release on Peacock thing or whatever. There's a real possibility. Let's say that Exorcist Believer doesn't end well. Let's say it doesn't even make $100 million. Let's say they don't spend $30 million on the next one. They spend $15 million. They spend much less of a budget and plop it on Peacock just to fill out this trilogy that they have to do. And they know they're not going to make that 400 back. They may, instead of saying, hey, we're just going to take our medicine, make a film, put it out so we're contractually done. This is a real possibility. I mean, they could go strictly theatrical, but if this one bombs, Exorcist Deceiver could be in real trouble. So, I mean, it could go either way. We'll have to keep, keep eyes on this and see how it goes. But I think it's something worth looking out for.
Blum did say like 2 weeks ago in an interview, it was actually like a week ago, I think it was last week. He definitely has never been under more pressure than he is right now. He was talking about that. He was like, we are under pressure to make money for Universal. Like this is, so after seeing how this one has just been, it's going to be moderately successful for what it is on its own merit. But I think you better believe that the next one's good. They're going to say, fuck Peacock. We're making as much money as we can from this movie because we need to try to make a profit. We have to try, because if not, Universal is going to be real mad at Blumhouse, real mad, because they're the ones that paid for the rights. So Universal was like 400 million. All right, Blum, make us some money. And he was like, you got it. If by the time the second one comes around and that one flops, Universal's going to be like, we hate you. Never work with us again. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeremy, what do you think, real quick? Do you think it has any chance of making back the money that they've spent just trying to get the rights, let alone recouping the budget for the films?
I mean, you better hope so. Like, these movies better hit, and they better hit fucking hard. So, I don't know. I was sitting here like, hey, you know what, Jason? You want to make some money back? Bring back Elevator. You fucking coward, you won't. I enjoyed that show, damn it. I thought it was funny. But whatever.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty tough ask for this to ultimately make money. I think. Now you got to remember, there's a couple of things about this that you have to take into account. One is also merchandising. I mean, I don't know how they work merchandising into the overall profitability of what they get from a film. It's like, yeah, Fast X is not a great fit, or Fast 9 anyway, didn't do very great, but they sold a lot of Fast and Furious merchandise, so there was probably some money to be made on the back end that isn't box office money. But at the same time,
you don't need money when you got family.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of merchandising you can really do for this movie, with the exception of a few things. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be. I'm hoping that in the long run, this ends up being profitable for them. I don't see it being profitable for them in a large way. I mean, they spend $250 million making a Marvel movie. They make $1 billion in a movie. So that's roughly $500 million of profit if you follow the rule of thumb that you have to make twice your budget to break even. I don't know. I mean, they're already at what, 45 million or something like that, Nick? I don't know if you've looked at the box office of this movie lately, but they're somewhere in like the 43, 45 million. So you got to get to roughly 60. I don't think they need to quite get to 60. I think if they got to 50, they'd probably hit the profitability mark. I think it'll probably get there. I mean, they've got to deal with Taylor Swift coming out next weekend, which doesn't bother me at all because I don't plan on seeing Taylor Swift singing in theaters. But I mean, the counter programming could work out pretty well. But I think you get to the point where it's profitable, but profitable for the $30 million budget and profitable for the $400 million that you spend to get the rights are very different things.
That's so hopefully this movie, independently from that purchase, is going to be profitable. Deceiver will be profitable, but that's independent of the larger purchase. So I guess in a way, Blumhouse, they're going to profit. They're like, well, I mean, we put 30 million into it, so sorry you paid 400, Universal. But I think at the end of the day, I think the best case scenario is a wash here. They make enough money with the 3 movies and the merchandising and the streaming rights and whatever to say we didn't lose.
That was you.
Yeah, but a couple more quick pieces of trivia before we close out. Actually, nothing in this movie, believe it or not, nothing in this movie contradicts anything in the previous films in the series. It only contradicts the television series by having Chris, who was killed in the series, being alive here without any explanation.
Now there's
that's not the only thing.
Devil magic.
Watch the series.
There's something else that contradicts.
Yeah, there's a big thing it contradicts. Yeah.
Saying.
Do tell, Tex. Give me the details.
Well, for the ones that don't know, I will give a spoiler warning. Pause, mute this for 10 seconds. You've been warned. If you watch the television show, Gina Davis is in this show. And by the end of it, you find out, oh, she's grown up little Reagan. That's why I said you can't canonize that, because you got Linda Blair and Gina Davis both playing the same little girl. Good luck
Exorcist, No Way
explaining
Home.
that. So, yeah, Exorcist, No Way Home. We need to have somebody open a portal and do the thing, and then we'll be fine. But,
Yeah, she's a variant.
it is.
She's a variant if we're doing the Marvel
Yeah.
Cinematic
Right.
Universe
The
thing.
damn TVA is going to come in here.
So, hang on. Reagan can come from Earth 666. That's her Earth designation that she comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it'll work out fine. It'll be cool.
But one more quick piece of trivia that I thought was interesting, and I think it kind of sums up some of the hate of this movie. Film critic Mark Reynolds, whose all-time favorite film is the 1973 Exorcist, which he credits for making him pursue film criticism as a career, called the scene in which Chris McNeil attempts to exorcise the possessed girl to be, quote, one of the film's touchstone stupid scenes in which the most notoriously shocking scene from the original Exorcist is turned into a stabbing, Punch and Judy pantomime, which at least means that Bernson won't have to witness anything further and gets to have a little bit of a lie down. Nick, you talked about how that scene kind of didn't sit all that well with you. This guy gave some pretty harsh criticisms. I mean, what do you think of this guy's words on kind of how he viewed at least that scene?
I think he needs to go touch some grass because it's just a fucking movie. But I will say I do agree. I do agree that, like, as soon as I saw a 90-something-year-old woman go to face down a demon, I was like, what are we doing? Like, David, I like you. I'm rooting for you. But that is not it. That scene is not it, brother. So, I mean, I agree, I guess, on the macro of, like, I don't think I'd have done that.
Tex, you got a bit of a reaction out of what I just read. What are some of your thoughts on this guy's on Mark Kerr's reaction?
I've tried to be, like I said, I've held my tongue on a lot of things about this film, and I don't just want to come on here and be like a lot of other people are on the internet and just give David Gordon Green the switch beating that he needs for what he's done to horror. I've made no bones about what he did in Halloween Ends, what he's done. I don't like the team that they have making these movies, from Danny McBride, I mean, Nick just mentioned it, peanut butter on my penis, to David Gordon Green and all of his nonsense. The only horror film of his that I've ever liked is Halloween Kills. And that's for simply one reason and one reason alone. It's an old school slasher. Michael's just going off and butchering everybody. Jamie Lee Curtis is in the hospital for the entire thing. I don't have to look at her or hear her preaching. That's why it's such a good film. But David Gordon Green, and I've made no bones about it. Rob Zombie's my boy. I love his films. But David Gordon Green suffers from the same thing that he does. Visually, he is a fantastic director. But writing, he's at best. Sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't. Halloween 2018 is not a bad film. I actually enjoy it. But the bottom line is David Gordon Green, he's just, the way he wrote this exorcism scene, there's no scare to it. There's no, besides the little girl getting dragged to hell, you're not upset by it. You know, when you watch that original, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they filmed this. I can't believe they allowed this in the theater. It just, this scene here, when you've got Ellen Bernstein, 90 years old, going in to face that, there's so many stupid decisions that are made. It's just, like I said, I've tried to be nice and not just be the screaming horror nerd on the internet that everybody else is being on this. But you know what? It deserves it. This is not a good film. You know,
David needs
just,
new
like I
writers.
said, he does. Whoever, I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Sam something? He kind of worked on both sets of Halloween and Exorcist. But I'm tired of seeing David
Scott Teams.
Scott,
maybe. Yeah.
Scott Teams. Thank you. That's who it is. Yes.
He's a terrible.
This
writer.
group that they have together needs to be disbanded. It does not work for classic horror. Go put them on some kind of indie thing. It may work fine.
Well,
but Halloween.
Scott Teams wrote Insidious: The Red Door, the newest one, and I didn't really like that movie. I thought that movie was a big
I haven't caught that one yet. But
he's not
I just don't
writer.
like.
Why do they keep doing it? Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it's. Yeah. I mean, how many times and like I said, I love Halloween Kills. It's a top 4 Halloween for me. But even I know that is a divisive film that split the fan base and it just got worse for Halloween Ends. But you know, this group does not work. I'm tired of seeing them butcher classic horror. The 1973 Exorcist film is the scariest film of all time. Not the most influential, but the scariest film of all time. And what they did to it in this movie, they gave you a safe cookie cutter corporate, just blah. It was a cash grab. If I had to put a term on it, cash grab is what I would say for Blumhouse. But, you know, it is what it is. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think it's odd because when I think Danny McBride, I think about the comedy stuff. I think about Eastbound and Down, which I think is a funny show.
Eastbound and Down, yeah.
I think about, you know, Pineapple Express, which is funny. Righteous Gemstones, I still say, is one of the funniest fucking TV shows that you could watch on streaming right now. If you're not watching it, it is.
I still need to watch that,
especially if you're of my age and you remember like the televangelist of the '80s and all that drama and stuff that was going on when that was all over the news. It's hilariously funny. And Danny McBride, and that's one of Danny McBride's kind of like pet projects. That's, you know, he writes it, he created it, he pitched it. That's kind of one of his shows. But when he comes over to horror, I'm kind of thinking to myself, he may be a big horror fan, but being a big fan of something does not necessarily make you a great writer of that thing. It's like I'm a big baseball fan. I don't know that I could take over as GM of a baseball team and build a winner. I mean, I don't know that those two things translate very well. And I kind of wonder about Danny McBride sometimes because he has moments where he really impresses me with some of the horror stuff that he does. But it's not enough moments for me to overall look at his entire body of work and be like, this guy's been around some success. And there's so much stuff that is picked apart by the horror community and not liked by so many people. I kind of wonder, again, he's probably a great fan, but not a great writer. Nick, I mean, am I wrong on this? Is there something about Danny McBride's horror writing that I'm not seeing? Or are you with me on that one?
He doesn't get it. He comes at it from the fan perspective. Not from the writer perspective. And I think it shows in a lot of the scripts. It's a lot of fan service. It's a lot of nostalgia. It's like you're writing what you'd want to see as the 13-year-old when you first saw these movies. But like, how are you modernizing it? How are you upping the ante? So he doesn't come about it from the right place. He means well, and he's clearly living out a dream of his, and more power to him. But I think at this point it has become clear to me that I just don't think it's your wheelhouse, man. Like, stick more to comedy, drama, you know, stick to that. You do that well. There's nothing wrong with that. You're always going to be able to have the feather in your cap of, hey, I was a writer on the Blumhouse trilogy of Halloween that made $500 million. Yeah, you will always have that feather in your cap, but that doesn't mean you did a super great job. And I don't think I will say, give yourself a little bit of credit here, though. You're a football fan. You may not be able to take over a team and you know, build a winner, but you could be a better offensive coordinator than Matt Canada. I am confident in that.
I was working on a Matt Canada joke that you would get, and I was trying to find it in my head.
My almost 4-year-old could be a better offensive coordinator. It's painful, but so yeah, I just don't think he gets it. I don't. He comes at it from the wrong place of like, this is so cool. I'm so excited. Like, I'm a kid again. Like,
I'm glad to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't really belong. I'm glad to be a part of it, but I don't necessarily belong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the impression that I get from all this. But anyway, I mean, we'll start to wrap it up now, but I'll start with you, Tex. Give me your final thoughts on The Exorcist Believer.
You know, I have to be fair when I judge a film, and I was generous giving this a 5 out of 10. I know you don't put numbers on films, but I like to. When I sat down and watched it and then said, what are my honest thoughts? Like I said, this felt like, once again, another legacy sequel of bring back an aging actor right before they die. Some of them are better than others. To me, this is the worst of the legacy sequels that we've had. We've had Halloween, Scream, Saw, Texas Chainsaw. They brought back Sally and had another actress play her, and somehow that was better than Ellen Bernstein in this movie for me. And that was not a great Chainsaw. But this is, like I said, cash grab at best, 5 out of 10. I hope, you know, Universal doesn't, you know, beat Jason Blum too badly for wasting their money, because they're not going to get it back. So look for more Fast and Furious films to make up for this loss. So.
No doubt. How about you, Jeremy? What are some of your final thoughts on The Exorcist Believer?
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but I didn't absolutely love it. I wouldn't be opposed to watching it again. It's it was another possession movie that I'm like, I think I've seen this before. It was this movie from 1973. Okay, but I'm a little disappointed.
There's 2 girls this time, though, Jeremy. There's 2 of them.
Yeah, this time it's personal. Jaws 3, whatever. I don't know. That's Chris McNeil walks in the room, and the devil would have almost just said, "Now it's personal." I'm like, I would have just been like, "Yeah, sure, okay." Just stabs her eyes out, whatever. Bomb drop. I'm hopeful for future sequels if we're doing I guess if we're at like a jogging pace, we better start going off in a more sprinting motion. If it has like the same kind of high that Halloween Kills did, because I thought that movie just went hard and just went for it.
Movie. Absolutely.
Holy shit. And I know what Frank said is like, yeah, I was excited for 3, and then 3 just crapped down my neck. I was like, okay. You tripped. You were in a sprint and then you fucking tripped and fell on your face. I'm like, okay. Whatever. So I hope it continues that trend and actually, kind of becomes what an Exorcist movie you'd expect, especially now, to be. Like, I wanted to see her spider walk down the middle of a damn church service and blood come out of her fucking mouth. That's what I wanted.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I know Nick's been one of the big defenders of Halloween Ends. I've been trying to find a place in the schedule somewhere where I could get Nick and text out over the stream and be like, guys, argue your case.
I don't know, man.
Mentioning that. I was trying to avoid mentioning it because I'm the only one here that likes it. So I was like, nope, we're just not going to talk about it. Anytime anybody mentioned it, I would like smile like,
It was Halloween, Christine Ends. I was like, what the fuck? This is the same movie.
Basically, yeah.
It was Corey Ween, and I was here for it.
No. I was here for Corey. I just wasn't like, okay, but why'd you kill him? If you're going to keep going, go with him.
Because they promised a trilogy. I know. That's the bullshit. They wrote themselves into a corner. Had you not just said it was going to be a trilogy, you could have done anything after that, but you had to end it because you're like, well, this is the end.
Yeah, that's where I disagreed with him. Like, no,
why I'm just keep
going?
I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said, I am team kills, and I hate ends. Anytime Frank wants to have the debate, anytime you're free, sir, come on back in here, and we can yell at each other for 2 hours, buddy. It'll be a great time, I promise you.
I'll tell you this. I am one of the people that I'm the few. A lot of people agree. Not a lot. There's a good portion of people that agree that it got better after 2018 with Kills. A lot of people. I think that's an uber slasher. I love that movie. But I'm one of the few people that thinks it got even better. For me personally, I think that trilogy, 2018 is the one movie in that trilogy that I'm just like, say what you will about Ends, but at least it was unique. You hadn't really seen it before. 2018 is a fucking rehash of a movie I saw in 1998. And quite frankly, a movie I saw in 1998 that was done better. And I'm not even a big H2O fan, but that was way better than what we got in 2018. But for me, it's a 3 out of 5 for Believer. I think the two you guys really were pretty much middle of the road, right down the middle. I'm a tick above it, but I think it's just because I'm a mark for I don't know. I'm a mark for the kind of tugging at your heartstrings a little bit. The whole way that exorcism is resolved and Angela living and I love the God played a trick on you moment because of what it's referencing of like, oh, you wanted me to die. Like, and we didn't know that up to that point. Like, there was enough in that third act to make me go, you know what? I would have just walked away saying it was average. I'll say it's a tick above. It ain't something that you're going to find me watching yearly and going to war for on Twitter. I've gone to war for some movies on Twitter. I ain't going to war for this one. But I was okay enough with it. So.
Yeah, for me, I think David Gordon Green is trying to play the same path that he did with Halloween. If you take the Mona Lisa and split it up into 3 parts and only show me one part, I'm not getting the whole picture. So I won't be able to appreciate the whole picture until I get all three of these movies together as one thing. So, but I mean, just looking at this as an individual film, it wasn't a bad watch. I had American Werewolf New Jersey coming at me saying the same thing with this movie that I did with Indiana Jones, the last Indiana Jones movie. I was like, what? Went in there wanting to like it? It's like I don't understand why. In this movie, like Indiana Jones and so many of these legacy films, I think people go in there wanting to hate them. And I'm like, I never go to a movie wanting to see a movie that sucks. I go to a movie wanting to see a movie that I'm going to enjoy. That's just kind of my personal mindset. So I went in wanting to enjoy this movie. Did I enjoy it the way I wanted to? Not really. I mean, there was good things. There were bad things. The movie did get off to an emotional start. It was good. It was good character building, but I wanted the hell to break loose a little bit sooner, probably like midway through the first act. I mean, I didn't really need all that build up into these two the relationship between the father and the daughter. I got most of that during the trailers. So all you had to do was just kind of establish who they were in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, and then just let the possession happen. That's what I wanted most of the movie to be about. Mm-hmm. But I do want to see this entire trilogy that they put out, and I want to see it as a bigger mosaic, as opposed to just trying to judge the one movie, because I don't know how the events of this movie are going to play into the next movie, how they're going to play into the third movie. Because when we get to the end of the third movie and the climax is already to happen, there could be something that happened in this movie that is going to be that much more significant and important that I just don't know right now. I mean, how do we know that Ann Dowd's character isn't really the devil in disguise? She's Mephisto. There you go, Jeremy. She's really Mephisto.
God damn it. I knew that tree in the front yard looked sketchy.
Yeah, I want to see the whole picture that he's trying to paint before I judge it too harshly. It was a good movie to watch. It wasn't great. Like I said earlier, when you've got The Exorcist in the title, the expectations are going to get ramped up way high. And it's really hard to meet those expectations when you're doing one of these legacy things. I think a lot of it was the same thing with Halloween. It's like you're talking about one of the premier horror franchises in the genre. If you can't just put Halloween on the title and then expect people to love it. There's expectations that come along with that title. And this more so than I think any other horror title, they were there, and it was hard to say that right now that they hit them. But like I said, I like the movie overall. Ellen Burstyn, she was there just to have that connective tissue more than anything else. I don't think she played a very big part in the movie, other than maybe being a bit of a cheerleader towards the end, like holding the hands up to the light and so on. So I don't know what was going on there either, but I mean, hopefully her role continues on and she's a bit more of a spiritual leader, if that's the right term, and we get a little bit more Reagan. But it was a good movie. I wasn't mad when I walked out of the theater. There were things about it I liked, things about it that I thought missed. But again, I think he's painting a bigger picture here, and we've only seen a third of the brushstrokes. So I don't want to be too critical on it.
I think it's very important to mention, because I think everybody sitting here right now can agree that at best you walked out of Halloween 2018 and you said, was it necessary? It was fine. And then Kills came out and it justified 2018's existence almost. Deceiver could do that. Deceiver could come out and you could be like, damn, like, okay, all right, like we're into it. And then he could totally fuck it up and bring in Corey Cunningham in the third one. I mean, who knows? But as it currently sits, there is a possibility for that middle movie to really justify this one's existence more. So I guess, like you said, it's an unfinished product. We just have to wait. I mean, hope for the best.
Yeah, I think that it's, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how all three of these movies play out, what they look like in the larger scale. But, there's our thoughts on The Exorcist Believer. Go down in the comments below if you're watching us live or if you're watching us on playback afterwards. Let us know what you guys think of the movie. Again, I thought it was pretty good. Again, there's a lot to come from this franchise still, and I want to see what they bring us. I think it'll be pretty interesting. I really hope we get more Reagan. I think that would be. I agree with all you guys. I think that's something it's going to be a must for this franchise to succeed going forward. Is we have to have Reagan a more significant part of the franchise moving forward, because I don't know how much Ellen Burstyn we can have considering what happened to her in this movie. I mean, she can be in it, but could she really be in it?
Well, let's be honest. How long was she even going to be with us?
She's 90, I think.
She's 90.
So.
Yeah.
And the next
she's
one's
90 years
for
old.
2 years, so she's not getting any younger. I mean, she looks great for being 90. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Father Time gets us all. You know what I mean? But thanks for coming to hang out with us tonight. We very much appreciate it. Tex, where can the folks at home find you?
At Gig'em 1836 on Twitter or X, whatever they call it these days. I normally just repost links to the show and whatever horror crap I find. And tomorrow night I'll be here yelling at Frank and eating my big dose of humble pie because my Cowboys crapped the bed on Sunday. So, we'll have to deal with that whole shindig tomorrow. But yeah, come back and watch me humble myself in front of you.
My Niner flag is right there on the shelf. I'm going to be wearing it proudly tomorrow as we talk football. And my hetero life mate Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you on the internet, my friend?
Well, I won't be here tomorrow because I don't watch grown men play with balls. So,
hey, you leave my sports ball alone, sir. All right, you leave it alone.
So obviously I don't do the sports thing, but I'll be here Thursday. I don't know what we're doing Thursday. What are we doing?
Thursday we're getting into Hellraiser, baby, from
Hellraiser.
1987.
Oh shit! All right, I'm done. Okay, so
no tears, please.
Sick. So yeah, I'll be here Thursday for that. I'm here whenever we do stuff. Usually Tuesdays because Monday Night Saw's over. But hey, you can always go watch that back. Watch me and Tex rail on about Saw for like 9 hours straight. If you got nothing else to do,
right? That was fun.
Yeah, you guys did a banging breakdown of all the Saw movies, and then of course we did our review of Saw X, which good movie. You guys can go back and watch. You guys go back and watch a review of that one. And to our good friend Nick from the Lost River Drive-In, what do you got going on your channel, my friend?
So I'm gonna do a video talking about Deceiver, where Exorcist goes next. Kind of the reception of this movie. October is always the busiest month for me because I'm known as the Halloween guy. So because that's the series I collect. So it's going to be busy for me, but this is where I butter my bread every year on YouTube is this month. So it's been busy. My channel is the Lost River Drive-In. Same thing on Instagram. And then it's the Lost River DR1 on Twitter X because somebody took an actual drive-in called the Lost River Drive-In, had that fucking handle. So, and then, as far as what you guys just discussed, I'll just add really quick. Hellraiser fucking rules. Criminally underrated series. The director of the third one passed away today, Anthony Hickox. Rest in peace.
Shit.
And I'm actually working on a documentary for that entire series with my buddy Phil, who actually has a degree in mixing and mastering and everything. So it's going to be like a professionally made documentary. I have Gary Tunnicliffe, the makeup effects guy from Hellraiser 3 to on. He did the makeup for 8 of the movies. He's going to be a part of it, do sit-down interviews with me that we're going to splice in there and everything. And so I'm really excited for that. And then as far as grown men playing with balls, I can't lie. I was happy to not have to face Frank after week 1. I told myself, man, we played just a really bad game. No, the 49ers are just that fucking good. And I really don't know if anybody's going to be able to stop them. So while you guys score 30-plus points every week and bend over the entire NFL, I'm scratching and clawing for 14 points. But somehow, some way, we're sitting in first place, and it makes no fucking sense. I'm
still a fan, damn it. I'm still a fan. It's okay. It's all right.
I still have a lot of faith. I still have faith in Kenny Pickett. I still have him on one of my fantasy leagues as my backup quarterback. I don't want to get rid of him just yet.
He needs a better OC. I mean, the schemes are terrible. They're just terrible. I mean, you call it what it is. In the last drive on Sunday, what did he do? They went no huddle, and it was kind of just backyard football, and he went 80 yards, scored a touchdown on a beautiful throw. Like the guy, he has the talent. His coordinator is dog water. Terrible.
As long as I have known Nick, he curses the name of Ron Canada every chance he gets.
I'm telling you right now, if you give me after this season's over, I'd like it right now, but it's not going to happen. After the season's over, I want Mike Tomlin to go to Kyle Shanahan and say, who's the next up-and-coming offensive mind on your staff? And I want Kyle Shanahan to point out who it is and Tomlin to go, you're our OC. Because you're seeing what he's doing with Brock Purdy. You saw what he did with Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't matter who the guy gets in there. It works. Like it just works. He's a brilliant offensive mind. And right now we're just fucking throwing sticks. And I mean, it's just, I don't even know what we're doing. It's fucking terrible. So, but we'll end up winning 9 or 10 games because that's just what they do. They might backdoor their way into the playoffs, just get blown out by Kansas City. But hey, Successful season, right? Yeah, fucking kill.
Just don't have a losing season if you're Tomlin. That's what he's
Yeah,
known
I'm
most
about
for.
I'm about
Don't have a
done with
losing
him.
season.
I'll tell you that right now. I'm about done with him. I'm
Well,
tired of celebrating mediocrity. I don't give a shit about not.
We have a guy. If you want to win a Super Bowl, we have a guy here in Dallas I think can help you. His name's Mike McCarthy. Just hire him. He'll win you a Super Bowl.
No.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I tell you what,
radio show this morning they were talking about that. They were like, "What if the Steelers got Mike McCarthy?" And the radio guys were like, "No fucking way."
I tell you,
it's Mike Tomlin.
you know,
the white version of Mike Tomlin. The same fucking thing. I don't want it.
as much as it would hurt my team, I'm willing to send Dak Prescott with him if you'll take Mike McCarthy. If you're willing.
I'm all right. We got some problems of our own. I think Dallas is going to end up being a lot better than they showed on Sunday. That's for sure. But you guys have. Yeah, you're gonna be all right. I think the three of us are gonna have 3 teams in the playoffs when it's all said and done. But I think only one of us is gonna have a team that's actually gonna make real noise. And unfortunately, that's Frank's team. So fuck you, Frank.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right on that one.
I'm trying not to tempt fate. I'm trying not to brag too much. That's why it wasn't all over text when that game was over on Sunday. I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and take this win because I don't want to tempt fate. I feel like the last couple of years we've had good chances. It just hasn't come around. The football gods have kind of shit on us, but I'm just gonna week to week. I'm just gonna be happy with whatever I get, and that's gonna be all I'm doing.
That's
as my high school coach said, win like a champion. That's all I'm saying. Take it gracefully and keep going.
Try to score 17 points. You can do it, Matt Canada.
You can do it, guys. You can do it. As for me, you can find me here tomorrow. I'll be live again with Tex and with my buddy Marcus as we go over any of the fantasy football news that came over in week 5. Go over some of the bigger stories in the NFL. It's going to be Tex is going to be coming here wearing all black. Probably it'll have a blue star on it, but it'll be all black. And don't forget, on Thursday we are breaking down the 1987 film Hellraiser, which is one of my personal favorite horror movies. I think that's just a classic. It's got a lot of the great things that make horror fun. So we're going to be talking about that on Thursday. Come and check us out for that. Until then, thanks all of you for coming to hang out with us. We very much appreciate it. Thanks to Nick from the Lost River Driver for coming to hang out with us tonight. Look forward to doing more stuff with him. Nick will be able to pop in for anything in the future that he feels like he wants to come in for. And we will see you guys next time. Until then, adios.
Devil be gone. Get out of here.
Do you think Ron Canada is possessed by evil? Is that part of this problem? Do we need to exorcism?
I think that the entire Steelers coaching staff needs an exorcism.
Oh, jeez.
Can you send them to Dallas after they get done with Pittsburgh? To what? Throw an interception? What? Is that what you're calling for here?
Oh, good God. That one. He just threw in the middle of the field. I don't know what was going on with that.
Jesus.